In this video, you're gonna witness 23 of Vietnam's must-try noodles from north to south. Vietnam is a country that loves street food and that loves noodles of all shapes and sizes.
Guys, have you ever just seen one giant flat noodle like this?
My buddy Calvin and I are starting in the capital of Hanoi in northern Vietnam.
Look at this.
Stunning.
Me or the snail?
Both? But one of them looks slimy.
Then moving to the central region, where we'll explore the cities of Hue, Da Nang, and Hoi An.
We're in a tiny, very local noodle factory, where they're one of the only places still making this noodle the old-fashioned way.
Onward, we travel to Vietnam's buzzing southern metropolis, Ho Chi Minh City. And finally, we're going to the deep south, to Vietnam's iconic Mekong Delta, where you can find noodles served from a boat.
Hi, Xin Chao. Calvin, please translate.
Our countrywide noodle adventure begins right here.
The noodle tour has officially begun. We're starting right here in Hanoi, and I am in the kitchen ready for a noodly breakfast. The pho most people are most familiar with internationally would be beef pho, but actually here in Hanoi, chicken pho is super popular. This place specializes in all things chicken pho. The amount of ingredients you can get here are insane. Unlaid chicken eggs, chicken butt, chicken pancreas. But before any of that, you have to start with the banh pho. That process is actually starting right now beside me.
Steamed rice noodle sheets, the foundation of every pho dish. Made from rice flour, cornstarch, water, salt, and rendered chicken fat. Apply the batter to a steamer for a few minutes, and you get this.
Okay, here we go, the big moment. So she uses a wooden rod to slowly peel that layer of banh pho off, and then she's gonna hang it up on the drying rack. Uh-oh, there's not a hole in there. Oh, after this cools down, they're gonna bring it to a different station and cut it into those beautiful pho noodles that we're all so familiar with.
Let's go.
I want to complete a childhood dream. I've always wanted to just put one of these in my mouth. This is a banh pho that's already cooled down. Do you see how it's not afraid of a man's touch? That went a lot differently in my mind. It's very pillowy, almost squishy and soft. Could use a little bit of broth.
Assemble the noodles, spring onion, herbs, and chicken meat. Then level it up with a clump of boiled unlaid eggs, chicken pancreas, fatty chicken butt, and this. Did you know you could eat that? Finally, top with more veggies, and to tie it all together, a delicate, heartwarming broth.
Oh, it's literally heartwarming. It's like if your parents give you a hug. I imagine, I've read about it in books.
Because they never actually gave you a hug, did they?
Yeah, one time. They thought I was someone else.
Joining me on this cross-country noodle tour, my good friend Calvin Bowie.
Noodles are something that I grew up with. It's probably my favorite dish to eat in the whole entire world. I love the texture. I love the variety. I love the versatility.
This is one of my favorite, kind of unknown, but still underrated ingredients in the world. Like, this would have become an egg if you gave the chicken a little bit more time to poop it out. And yes, I mean poop it out. Do you guys know where the eggs come from on the chicken? There's not a separate egg hole. Let that sink in.
It's so creamy. I mean, it's more creamy than any chicken egg that's boiled.
The texture is very much like if you mix the egg white and the egg yolk together. It made a little omelet, but that was still in a spherical shape. Delicious. I'm told this is a pancreas. Pancreas bone.
It's very livery in taste and texture.
Also very lemongrassy and fatty, kind of dark meat.
Oh, having that fresh noodle appeal truly is making this bowl a 10 out of 10.
When I tried it earlier, it had really almost no flavor to it. It was just about texture. Obviously, all the flavor here is coming from the broth. It gets soaked into the noodle. I mean, look at how thick these are. It's like a scroll.
Do you want to write a story on there?
Yes. This is one of my favorites. I've never had this in Vietnam. What would you call this?
This is from a rooster. It's the back part of their mohawk.
It's the coxcomb.
Yeah, say that,
you
dude.
can.
I said cod comb one time, you got mad at me. My favorite word? Gelatinous. Has a little gamey flavor.
Yeah, it's fatty, although mine was infused with lemongrass too. It is a different type of texture, and I think that's the point of all these meats as you move through the bowl, is to get different tastes and textures of this piece and that piece. Right here, we have chicken butt. Oh God, you're
Oh,
it's so good. I love chicken butt, and I used to be afraid because it was, had the word butt in it, but I've learned to love butts.
And I cannot lie.
That's right.
This next noodle is a beloved staple of Hanoi, even though its main source of protein may be a major turnoff for some. I'm here to find out if this is an acquired taste or love at first bite.
Look at this.
Stunning.
Me or the snail?
Both? But one of them looks slimy. I will not say which one.
Dozens of different snail species are eaten throughout Vietnam, from freshwater to oceanic, from very, very small
Wow, look at that.
to shockingly huge.
This thing is a monster.
Here at this family-owned restaurant, they've been serving freshwater snails with noodles for over 70 years.
Why do people love the snails so much?
Ốc này nhiều canxi.
Full of calcium. It's good for you, and it's organic.
How do you know when it's a good snail? I mean, I'm looking the snail in the eyeballs. It won't even make eye contact with me.
Mình đi mua ốc mình phải chọn.
In the morning at the market, she'll put the snails into a bucket and she'll submerge it with water. The ones that are alive will sit upright with the shell looking towards the sky. But the ones that are dead will go upside down and just show you their booty.
If she's gonna buy a snail, it better be a snail that she can murder herself, correct?
Of course you know.
The snails are boiled, and hundreds of them are dug out of their shell one by one.
I understand when you make a beef stock or a chicken stock because they've got bones, but how do you do it with a snail?
Nước luộc con ốc này ra.
She boils the snail. She mixes that in with certain herbs and a special rice wine vinegar.
Add in tomato, chili paste, and spring onions to create this earthy broth. Now, the assembly. First, add the noodles. Like pho, bun is also a rice-based noodle.
Bun is such a legacy dish. It's come from our ancestors. It's something that you see in everyday life.
It's an OG.
O-N, original noodle.
Top with a batch of snails, spring onions, and heartwarming, steamy, tomatoey broth.
Right here we have our super steaming hot bowl of bun and out. The broth looks completely different from that chicken broth that we just had.
This is clear, almost like a fumet, a French term for a broth made of seafood.
Somebody went to French cooking school over here. How much did that cost, by the way?
45,000.
Do you make that money back ever? No. It certainly doesn't have like the depth of bone broth, but it's still very savory.
It is just very light and airy.
We should try some of this bun. Oh, look at that. This is just the right moment. It's soaked up just enough of the broth.
Springy, and it's light. It's such a great vehicle for flavor.
It's a good point. You see it mixed with just about every different creature they have in Vietnam, including
The snail.
look at this monster of a snail. It looks like a leech almost. Earlier, I was watching her take these snails out and she just twirls them with the perfect technique to get all the meat and all the poop out of there.
So special.
Wow, that one was briny. Intense seafood flavor. Somehow it's meaty and crunchy at the same time.
It's like a cartilage.
Yeah.
And there's very few things in life that have those two textures together.
Absolutely. Oh man, I'm in love. I know like if you get a close-up of this snail, it's gonna look weird and bizarre and a little bit funky if you've never tried it before. It's like you have to try it and become acquainted with it. Then you start looking at it and you go, oh, I know you look kind of ugly, but boy, you taste good.
Soon, we'll see how this slimy creature has crawled its way into one of this city's creepiest bowl of noodles.
It's like the scene in Indiana Jones.
But before that, this. A double dose of noodles for one seriously low price. It's called bánh đa cua.
Món bánh đa cua này ăn nó rất là ngon, nó thanh, mà cái này nó cũng đầy đủ hết các cái chất như là chất xơ, canxi, đạm đỡ đầy đủ, cho nên là mọi người rất thích cái món này.
Tucked deep inside a local market, hidden away from the main streets, Miss Phuong is serving up a recipe she inherited from her mother over 30 years ago.
Mẹ chị dạy là nguyên liệu là mình phải mua đồ tươi, làm là phải sạch sẽ cẩn thận, như thế thì khách người ta mới tìm đến với mình, nhất là trong chợ.
In a bowl, add some poached veggies, then 2 types of rice noodles, a brown one and a white one. Top it with fish cakes, slices of beef tenderloin, crab paste, then a savory broth made by boiling pork bones and crab paste for hours and hours.
I've never had this before. I've never even seen it.
This is bandana.
Bandana.
It's like bandana without all the extra syllables.
Right,
Bandana. Let's get the broth. Oh, those are the flavors that I love. Just that really seafood-esque flavor.
Yeah, like if you steamed a crab and then you wrung it out like a towel, it would taste like that.
That's how she did it. I think this one is really about getting a little bit of the vegetable, a little bit of the noodle, pieces of the tenderloin, the fish cake, and also a little bit of the crab patty. That is a great bite right here. Why aren't you there with me?
I'm gonna eat this and then eat more. Bro, delicious. So what's interesting, the way this is made, there's no way to like have two different noodle experiences. As soon as you put your chopsticks down, they just start like combining together, and so it just becomes one big clump of texture, completely flavored like crab.
They're both made of rice powder, but the darker one, the coloring comes from caramelizing sugar. So you don't get much of the flavor, it's more of the aesthetic.
Dude, can I say something really quick?
No.
Okay, then let's go for it. But I've noticed in Vietnam, folks here don't always mind kind of a soft, soggy noodle. For me, I really love an egg noodle because it's got a lot of texture and kind of bite to it.
Sure. Noodle dishes are really about texture, right? And so the vegetables in there kind of play off that softness of the noodle.
There's a lot of vegetable. I can see why some people would need that for fiber, digestion, Crohn's disease. I don't know. What I love about noodles in Vietnam is the endless variety. There's just so much here. Noodles I've never seen before in my life, but I gotta say, pretty good.
I may have spoken too soon, because now I'll be faced with this, a type of noodle that isn't for the faint of heart, but there's no turning back now.
Recently, I went to the USA and I went to many Vietnamese restaurants and see like 98 different Vietnamese foods, but they won't have this.
Yeah.
Pounds and pounds of live eels.
Why did she just cheer when it came out?
I don't know.
This swamp eel has made a 200-mile journey all the way here to Miss Dean's prep kitchen.
Where'd you even get these eels?
Ở dưới đất người ta cắm sâu nước là con đưa nó chui vào cái ống này này.
Oh, interesting. In the rice paddy, they put a bamboo pipe into the ground and the eel slides inside of the bamboo.
Oh, that's wild.
This eel is the foundation for her famous noodles. Noodles she's been selling for the last 36 years. Here's how it works. These smooth-skinned, slippery creatures are dumped in their final stainless steel resting place.
Yeah, what's that like?
It feels slimy. It's like the scene in Indiana Jones when all the snakes are just slithering away through crevices and hands.
If he rubs that on his face, is that good for his skin?
Massage được đấy.
She adds in salt, the eel's only weakness. After a few minutes of writhing, the spirit of each eel ascends to the eel paradise in the sky. Meanwhile, on Earth, it's time to get cooking. The now de-slimed eels hit the grill, roasting over charcoal until they cook through.
So why eels?
Cái lươn này ăn thì nó rất là ngậy, ngọt, nhiều canxi.
I really think that it's something that's just fun to eat. And because they have so many rice fields here in Vietnam, this was something that was readily available.
Now, one by one, she splits them in half to remove their bones and organs. Shred the eel meat into smaller strips, dredge it in flour, then deep fry in hot oil until they're perfectly crispy. With our eel transformation complete, it's time to bring this all together. Blanched cellophane noodles and veggies are added to a bowl.
What is cellophane?
It's what you stuff into boxes.
You could eat that?
No, you can't. Oh. Cellophane noodles are made of arrowroot. It's an underground root and it's usually found in the mountains.
Add MSG, soy sauce, the fried eel, roasted peanuts, fried shallots, and cucumber. But no cucumber for me. On the side of our dry noodles, a rich pork bone broth. Time to dig in.
Calvin, this is our fourth and final noodle of the day. We saw this just moments ago. Was so slippery, slimy.
Sonny, now shake my hand. We have been friends for so long. This is
Too intimate. So we've gone from that to this right here. That is quite a process. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a sniff.
ooh,
Smells good.
nutty aroma.
Kind of like fried fish skin. Let's try it out.
Oh, that's good.
The transformation of the year, my gosh, is so different. It
Still tastes like fish.
has a little bit of earthiness to it. You know, because it's this mud. Can we get any more sound effects at the moment? It's this earthy creature, it's in the mud, it's in the swamp, and so to maintain some of that essence, but then all the flavors she put on top of it have made it absolutely delicious. That is just a topping. Underneath, we have the cellophane noodle, also known as a what noodle, Calvin?
A glass noodle, Sonny.
And then you've got a sidecar of broth, so you can still wet your whistle.
Wet your noodle.
Oh my gosh, I love it. They're not super soft. They have a nice bouncy spring to them. It's super salty, savory.
It really absorbs all that sauce, right?
Do you know what sauce is in there?
Soy sauce, shallow oil, and a little bit of magic powder.
Ah, yes. We're gonna have an MSG heart attack later. The other thing I love about this noodle is that it's not clumped together at all. Look at that amazing separation. Every time you pick it up, they're completely separate from one another. This is a pretty ultimate bite right here. Some eel, some noodle. Let's do it.
Yeah. Even with the eel, the star of the show still is that glass noodle.
The eel is just creating a nice crunchy little crouton, adding texture to the noodle, but there's no real strong flavor to it. A little bit of a sip. Oh. The broth is real clean, refreshing, kind of herby. This is one of my favorite noodles today. This is what I mean by like realigning your taste buds. Before trying this, I thought I'm gonna take about 2 bites. It's gonna taste like a swamp. It's not gonna be good.
Yeah.
And it's stunning. I'm a new man, I'm born again, and I've been baptized in eel broth.
Amen.
Amen.
This is the city of Hue. It used to be Vietnam's capital for over 150 years. I say it's still the capital of bangin' central Vietnamese street food.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Today, we're doing it all. From creative noodle making, using tools you could find at Home Depot,
She's literally carving it off of a PVC pipe.
all the way to impossibly small seafood
This is literally thousands and thousands of clams all right here.
that delivers a big bite. At our first location, a noodle made with the skill of a ninja and the tools of a plumber.
That is not a PVC pipe that they use for plumbing, is it?
I think that's what it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we begin? It's your
Melvin, we have traveled from the north to the central region of Vietnam where there is a completely different noodle scene. You can see right here, the way she's making these noodles is stunning.
hot to my feet.
Miss Huang and her family have been chopping these noodles into existence for the last 10 years.
Oh my God, she's making eye contact with us while she's doing it.
Through trial and error, they discovered a PVC pipe could work as a rolling pin and a cutting board at the same time.
How long did it take you to get good at this?
Thời gian mà dì Hương học món này, bây giờ dì Hương rất là hay phải không? Hồi đó mới bắt đầu là không hay. Bao lâu là dì Hương mới hay như vậy?
Ăn một người họ thấy cảm thấy ngon đó.
Why is she talking about her dry clean right now? What did I say to her?
Bankan noodles start with a mix of rice flour, tapioca flour, and hot water.
At a lot of bankan places, they'll just order the noodles from somewhere else, boil it, and then send them out. What is the advantage of making her own bankan?
Need the batter to make a dough.
You cannot guarantee the quality of noodles when you're buying from the outside, but here you can make them clean, fresh, and delicious.
Flatten that onto the pipe and chop it into boiling water.
Inside the house, she has her own grinder where she grinds her own rice flour.
She adds snakehead fish intestines and 2 fish cheeks.
She just told me right now, there's no one in comparison to her in this city.
Then a rich fish broth.
I actually believe her. I've never seen anybody with the focus, skill, and technique that she has. She can do about 20 things at once. She's taking separate orders. Plus, she's talking to us.
Finish with chopped and shredded green onions.
Right here, bankan. It grips to the spoon wonderfully. It's not super slippery like other bankan I've had.
Not at all.
Before we get into the noodles, let's try this broth. Ooh. It's savory and sweet. The kind of sweetness that you can only get from seafood. That's nice. Noodles?
Oh my God. We're always eating soft noodles, but this one has a nice bite to the tooth. By cutting it with a knife, you really get something different than a commercial grade noodle.
Chewy texture, different than any noodle we've had so far on this journey. They have fish intestine. This bigger black piece right here, which we should try next.
I love it. I love the mineral taste. I love this little Baliles essence that it gives you in the mouth.
It tastes like it was full of something sticky like peanut butter.
It's delicious.
That is basically fish poop.
I love poop.
Well, they've got some other parts that aren't as full of poop. Can you find that cheek?
That's a cheek.
Oh, that's definitely a cheek. Let's have at it.
The best part of any animal is the part that is used the least. The fish don't smile that much. And so that cheek is gonna be just absolutely tender and succulent.
Satisfaction guaranteed. This is an excellent dish.
Most people would associate this next noodle ingredient with danger rather than with food.
We're here because you have a very unique ingredient in your noodles, and that is this right here. Can you tell me what I'm looking at?
Jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
Yes, even though jellyfish is eaten in this part of Vietnam, you won't find it at almost any restaurant except this place.
Have you been eating jellyfish from the time you were a kid?
Since she was a little one, like this.
In fact, Miss Lan is the only vendor selling this dish in the entire city.
What do you like about jellyfish?
Mặn mà cô ăn nghe sực 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 trong miệng rồi cảm giác là nó cái trắng để ăn sao.
This dish starts with an assortment of greens and veggies.
She dares you to eat it.
I don't think she said that.
Yeah, Matt. Matt means I dare you. I double dog dare you. I triple dog dare you.
Followed by bun, a thin vermicelli rice noodle, one of the most common types of noodles used in Vietnam.
Cheers.
Wanna find out about something new?
She adds sliced fish cakes, shrimpies, and slices of jellyfish.
Super crunchy, watery. It's just about sensation. There's no flavor at all. So why do you like this if it has no flavor?
Place on a crushed rice cracker,
She has her own secret sauce that's gonna transform this into the next big thing.
and finish with her ultimate secret sauce.
I love to do.
Calvin, right here we have our dish. They call it bún, and then the words that come after that,
Yum nook.
which means
It means jellyfish here in the central region.
they're calling it jellyfish noodles, but there's so many different ingredients in here.
Let's try the shrimp first.
Mind you, it does still have the entire shell on there.
We grew up eating shrimp with the shells on. We've always known that it brought extra calcium to our bones.
And that was super important to you as a 5-year-old?
Yes.
All right, let's try it out. I can feel it's a little shrimpy whiskers in my mouth. It's crunchy, the shrimp is juicy, it's got a nice savory sauce, but she doesn't put a lot of sauce on there. We should just mix this whole thing up right now. I've got some of the greens, Vietnamese sausage, and then some of the bún.
Whoa. Wow. Is indeed.
So it has a very fermented quality to it. It's a bit of a light flavor, not super intense, and then some seafood essence.
What seafood exactly does it taste of?
Is it the crab?
Where in the crab?
The ankles?
No, it has a flavor of crab roe. That sauce really makes it.
You like it, huh?
I really do. But Sonny, don't forget what we're here for the jellyfish.
The jellyfish has now been caked with that sauce. Once flavorless, now
Flavorful.
let's try it out.
Still crunchy. It's like pig's ear. Has a softness on the outside, but the inside.
Super crispy, crunchy, and then with a little bit more flavor now. I gotta say, I'm coming around on the texture of this particular jellyfish. Jellyfish I've had in the past has been almost sandpapery. I like this more than any other jellyfish I've had. No cap. Is that, people say that? No cap? I shouldn't say that. All right.
The city of Hue served as a capital for generations of Vietnamese kings. So many foods here originated in the royal court, including our next bowl.
Internationally, the noodle people know most from Vietnam is pho. But I would say the noodle that Vietnamese people love the most is bún bò Hue. And it comes from the city of Hue, where we are right now. That's what makes it really special.
I've never had bún bò Hue here in Hue. This is like losing my virginity.
This is a big moment. Bún bò Hue, let's break it down. What does the broth consist of?
Mỏng giò nè, xương.
Meet Miss Thuy, the queen of bún bò Hue.
From the pork trotter to the pork belly. But the main part is the entire leg of the pig. That's what gets a gelatinous, creamy flavor from. And then the beef bones come in. So you get a really nice balance between pork and beef.
There's pork, there's beef, but there's one other element that's very unique, very special, the blood cake.
Congealed blood cake is an ingredient commonly paired with many soups in Vietnam. It's a cheap and easy way to add more vitamins, protein, and a unique texture to your meal.
Is this pig blood?
Nên là không phải heo.
This is not just blood from any animal. This is coagulated duck blood.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did not expect that.
Neither did I.
Calvin, you know what we have to do now, right?
Take it home and sell it on Bitcoin?
No, we have to eat pure blood.
What they usually do is they add it to the broth and then they get the flavoring there. But here, this is unseasoned.
All right, let's see. Wow.
Wow, indeed.
I gotta say, without the broth, that is an intense flavor, man.
It looks like pudding, feels like jello, but then it's just this minerally flavor.
It has a little bit of a leathery texture, so as you bite, it sticks to your teeth as you're chewing through it. There's no other texture like this. Ma'am, I can't wait to try this out with the broth and maybe a few other ingredients. Yeah. Thank you so much.
The bowl starts with their special thicker version of bún. Top that with a huge cut of pork leg, beef tendon, beef flank, and blanched beef. Then a pork ball, a crab ball, and a few cubes of duck blood cake. A sprinkle of chopped scallions. And finally, she sinks it with her heavenly broth.
I love that. Yeah.
Oh my God. The sweetness, the porkiness, that aromatic flavor purely from the lemongrass.
So flavorful. You taste it like from the top of your nose to the bottom of your stomach. That's real good. Let's get to some of this meat on top. Everyone gets 2 balls, unlike the human population.
These are 2 different balls. One is ground pork. Oh my God. That is just pure porky goodness. There's no fillers.
I like my balls how I like my women. No filler, no Botox, just full of meat. Okay, I lost the analogy somewhere.
The next ball is made out of crab. That's where the golden hue comes from. Oh.
Similar types of seasoning, but with some of that beautiful crab flavor.
Are you ready for the pig trotter?
So soft and tender, delicious pork. I love it. Let's take a look at these noodles. This is the bun. We already had bun, but this looks different to me.
This bun is a little thicker cut. What we usually get is vermicelli. That's used for something that's more lighter. You don't find this bun in any other dish.
Try it out. Yeah, boy. That is life-changing. It's strong. It withstands this intense broth. It's got plenty of texture, but it's absorbed some broth too, so it's full of flavor. We tried blood already, but we had just the straight-up version, no broth. So now we've got some broth. Much better.
The irony flavors are gone. That mineralness is now sweet. That broth really absorbed well into that blood cake. It transformed it 100%.
Last thing, this is bun bò. Bò means beef.
Dude, I can't.
Good call. Bún bò Huế, secretly the favorite noodles of Vietnamese people. I understand why.
Soon, we'll be trying the cheapest bowl of seafood noodles you can find in Vietnam.
This dish is going to be the cheapest dish we have in this series.
But to truly appreciate this dish, you must see the work that goes into sourcing its main ingredient.
Calvin, out here, this is Mr. Bai. He has a very interesting job that pertains to our next noodle.
Uncle Bai is a seasoned clam hunter.
This is one of the most painstaking foods that can be made anywhere because the amount of work that has to go into it is unimaginable.
His main prey is the wild basket clam, the protein source for our final bowl of noodles.
The food source is so tiny, but somehow everybody in this area is eating it.
Every day, he dives down this river, scooping up around 20 pounds of these microscopic mollusks.
He's gonna pull those up soon, and we're gonna see how he processes them for our next dish.
With the clams in hand, he must now extract the meat using his outdoor kitchen. Thousands of clams descend into his fiery wok. When it's full, he adds water so the meat can cook.
So we have the clams that have been boiled. They're being brought here to the processing area. He takes them portion by portion into the wicker basket, puts it into the water, and then this is where the magic happens. When I first heard about this food, I thought he was gonna have to pick them out one by one with a freaking toothpick, but no, he puts it all in the water, he stirs it around, and then the meat just kind of floats out and then sinks right down to the bottom. So right now, there's a bunch of meat on the bottom of this giant bowl. Meanwhile, the shells are staying inside the basket.
This is called water displacement. There's nothing high-tech about this.
No, this is just good old-fashioned smarts. The moment has come. He's done taking out all the meat from the clams. He's gonna show us the final result from all the meat on the bottom.
Wow, look at that. I mean, that is entire river in this basket.
Go! This is literally thousands and thousands of clams all right here. This is wild. Are you ready to try it out?
I am.
All right, here we go. Oh,
briny, salty, super tender.
and it still has some of that freshwater minerality to it. I taste amoebas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to lose some weight on this trip.
This is the way to do it.
From here, the cooked clams head straight to a nearby restaurant, where they'll be turned into an impressive 44-cent meal. The clams are mixed with chili oil, seasoning powder, and black pepper. Now, the build, a bed of shredded greens. Then blanched instant noodles, bean sprouts, coriander leaves, a spoon of fermented shrimp paste, crushed peanuts, their homemade chili garlic dipping sauce, more chili oil, whole peanuts, fried pork skin, and then the clams. And on the side, a warm, clammy broth.
This is our fourth and final noodle here in Huế, and this is a beauty.
This dish is gonna be the cheapest dish we have in this series. 44, 45 cents.
That is wild. What do you think our approach should be?
I say we need to mix it up, really get all the textures and the sauces together, and then
Sorry, I'm eating the pork skin already.
you want to take,
Keep going. What stopped you?
And then you want to take a big mound of the noodles and the clams and the pork skin and the herbs. You don't want to just even... You want to slurp everything down. Get one big mound in your mouth.
I'm down to slurp. Enjoy it. Mmm. That's super yummy.
She added some fermented shrimp sauce in there. Alone, it would be very overpowering. But in this noodle mixture with the herbs and the clams, it really brings that brininess to this dish.
It hits a lot different than like a bun bao hui. There's nothing that compares to it. When you get that first taste of broth, it like heals your soul. It erases the memory of all your exes. It's like therapy in a spoon. This is more like a fun snack than something that's gonna give you a transcendental experience. That's not to say it's not to be appreciated. Can you taste the clam?
No, you can't.
There's so many textures in there, and it's tough because you could be crunching your way through a tough chicharron, and then you're not gonna notice that chewy little clam underneath it. It is not a powerful force. It's something you gotta really like feel for. If you can't taste the clam outright in the noodle, you can always have some broth. Yeah, I taste that.
That is just pure shells.
Yeah, that is a shell broth. Wow, that's really unique.
Yeah. It's just water and the brininess from the clams itself.
It kind of cleanses your palate.
For another bite.
It is such a mix of very affordable ingredients, and that is what Vietnamese street food is all about, innovation and creativity. I love it. We've done it for noodles, from jellyfish to blood to noodles made by hand, all the way to clamming in the river. This has been an epic noodle tour here in Hue.
Next, we're taking on Noodle Factory in Hoi An, a small countryside beach paradise located in Vietnam's central region. The city is famous for its well-preserved ancient town, the aged canals running through it, and Cao Lao noodles. Flavors and sensations arranged harmoniously to create an elegant and inviting aesthetic, promising nothing but pure pleasure.
Incredible.
Being the regional staple, Cao Lao can be found everywhere in this city. And here at Cao Lao Ballet Restaurant, you'll find it in its finest form.
This is my favorite element inside of here. Do you know pigs can take criticism really well? They have a thick skin. Oh.
It all starts with a strong foundation, a noodle made from scratch just a few blocks away. Tucked away in a series of alleyways in a residential area, you'll find this noodle's place of origin.
We're in a tiny local noodle factory where they're one of the only places still making this Cao Lao noodle the old-fashioned way. It starts like this. We've got rice flour, tapioca starch, and lye water all mixed together. It comes in as a liquid, and he mixes it until it becomes a thick paste.
The thickened paste is brought here, seal it up, then steam. 30 minutes later, and it's ready to continue its journey toward noodlehood. This steaming hot glob of dough is beat down in an industrial-sized mixer, creating the perfect even consistency.
Calvin, I saw the batter being made, but this is the actual noodle forming process.
This is a professional, this is a preschooler.
See, I'm more like a professional eater. He's rolling it out with the pin. He gets the width just perfect, cuts it, and then it goes through the noodle, what do you call that? Like the Play-Doh machine.
It's called a noodler. I love his technique because as he flattens it out, you see the tiny indentations into every time the piece of wood rotates. If it's just one completely long sheet, it'll rip in the noodler.
How far back does this noodle factory go?
4 generations. Great-grandfather, grandfather, father.
Our noodle master, Lao, preserving tradition, he is one of the rare local producers who's still making these noodles the old-fashioned way, despite the competitive popularity of machine production adopted by almost everyone else.
How can you compete with big noodle-making factories?
Even if there are factories, nothing beats doing it by hand. There's no machine that can counteract love.
One more steam session, and we finally have it. Cao Lao noodles. Now it's the chef's turn. Ship the noodles to the restaurant fresh, then blanch and add them to a bowl of fresh herbs. Thick, glistening char siu sauce is draped over the noodles. Char siu pork, annatto oil, then pork fat for the vegetables. As a final touch, satay, char ram, and deep-fried pork fat.
Cao Lao is a very interesting dish because it's not a brothy dish. Yeah, it's not a dry dish. It's right in the middle where it's kind of swashy. Do you remember seeing at the factory they have those little tiny squares?
This char ram is made from the same dough as the noodles. Instead of steaming, it's cut into squares and fried.
They're not the LSD squares?
Yeah, these will not melt on your tongue. They're much more crunchy, but maybe still trippy. Let's try it out. I love that. From here, as beautiful as this bowl is, it is meant to be destroyed and mixed up. Now they're soaking up that sauce. The sauce is just so yummy.
Nice fat to meat ratio. It's very moist.
Moist. I'm looking for the perfect bite. I want a little bit of the sasu,
A little bit of the greens.
Like so many Vietnamese dishes, it's a flavor sensation as well as a texture sensation.
I really like the use of herbs. It really livens up this dish.
We know by now, I don't like a soft, limp, impish noodle. I like a noodle with some body to
A
it.
noodle that does deadlifts. A noodle that does clean. A noodle that sits there in the gym for 3 hours and says, hey, you got this.
It's a CrossFit noodle. From here, we are going to another place in Hoi An as well. The guy holding my cue cards just dropped them all in the wind. Usually it's all scripted. I don't know what to say right now. Kevin, I'm freezing. Push the button. Go to voiceover. Go to voiceover. Go to voiceover. Go to voiceover.
Most noodles in Vietnam are made from rice, but this next one, well, I had no idea this next food could become a noodle. Here, it's all about the cassava.
What is this noodle called and how far does it go back?
Cái sản phẩm này tên là phở sắn và nó
The
có
noodle is called phở sắn. It goes back 100 years. In this region of central Vietnam, it's really hard to grow a lot of vegetables. One vegetable that grows well is the cassava root. They created this dish to help combat hunger. This noodle is used in a lot of families when rice isn't available. The noodles are made of 100% cassava. You take the peel off, you then dry it in the sun, then you make a powder out of it, and that's the powder we use to make the noodles.
Like a cassava batter.
Cassava batter.
They pour a cassava batter into a duo-functional pot. It boils and whisks the batter simultaneously. Once the batter thickens up, it's moved to a kneading machine to smoothen its texture.
It gets thick and then they put it in this machine which extrudes it like a Play-Doh extruder.
This machine presses the batter through a filter, extruding strands of noodles, while the tray beneath bobs and weaves to and fro, creating this unique webbed pattern. A pattern crucial to the survival of this noodle.
What is the purpose of the crisscross pattern?
bột sắn khi mà nó khô đi rất là dễ gãy.
They found out doing the crisscross shape allowed them to pull the noodle from one side easily.
If you kind of have this netted pattern, it's just going to be a lot stronger.
In the olden days, before they had machines, they had somebody standing high, pushing down the batter.
I think it just goes back to reflect on the innovation that you find everywhere in every corner of Vietnam. It's never just this low standard like, well, just boil cassava and eat a cassava. They're like, I need freaking noodles, dude.
The full trays of wet noodles are taken out into the fields to sun dry.
By noontime, all of these sheets get dried in the sun. By 4 to 5 p.m., it's done.
Calvin, that is how that is how this particular noodle is made. The only thing left to do now is to eat it. Jinx.
Pho sang is as versatile as it is innovative. And at our next restaurant, we'll see them prepared two ways, in broth and fried. First, fried pho sang. Sauté crushed garlic in peanut oil. Add shrimp, squid, and a potent blend of fish sauce, vinegar, MSG, and coconut nectar. Then some veggies and pineapple. Some starch to make it thick. Now, those noodles. Deep fry each pho sang sheet until it puffs up. After creating a foundation of several noodle sheets, dump your stir fry on top.
Food number one.
It looks like a bird's nest. It just erupts itself from this dish.
What if we put some of the seafood on the noodle?
What if I fed you from over here?
Yeah, I mean, so many things are possible in life, right?
The stir fry is great, but to have a little bit of extra crunch.
It's a great way to prepare noodles. It just makes them fun, light, crispy, and it creates a whole new texture sensation.
The noodles here aren't the main star. They play more of an accompaniment on an accoutrement.
Like a cameo.
Like what I do once in a while on the show.
Oh, you do cameos?
Do you consider me a co-host?
I don't consider you a celebrity, so.
How about a friend?
Friend cameo.
Next up, our main course, snakehead fish noodles. Sauté onion pearls, garlic, and turmeric, then add seasoned fish and pork. Now for the broth. Cook a whole snakehead fish for 5 hours, then squeeze out its essence, extracting its delightfully fishy flavors. These cassava-based noodles take almost no time to soften up. Toss everything in the bowl and send it out the door.
This broth was made with turmeric and pearl onions. You should be able to get a lot of manhood from the turmeric.
Oh, wow. Is that what turmeric does?
What do you think is in Viagra?
Oh, drugs?
And turmeric.
They kept up with the seafood theme here. Tons and tons of fish on top.
That turmeric really blends in well with this fish. It gives it a very nice herbaceous feel.
To me, it tastes like a freshwater fish. I can taste that minerality. This is what I really care about right here. When you pick them up, they almost break under their own weight because they're so saturated with the broth already. Oh, I like that. They're still satisfying, but I gotta say, you have to be quick with this one. If you let it sit around at all, it is gonna turn to mush.
To each their own. This might be the reason why they like this noodle. They like that mushiness that kind of combines everything together. Cassava is something that you see in boba tea. It's really interesting to see the local regional area utilize what's grown here and make something out of it. I think that's really cool.
All right, on to the next location.
Just an hour's drive south of Hoi An, you'll find Tam Ki. This is Vietnam's true hidden treasure. Serene, unspoiled sands and laid-back beach town vibes. However, there is one thing they take very, very seriously.
Oh, another one coming off. This noodle is called Mi Wang. Mi Wang is a noodle you're gonna find only in the central region. Oh, I didn't ask if I could do this.
This noodle dish is the result of centuries of history.
It has just such a nice, soft, cushiony, thick, lovely texture.
Locals, influenced by Chinese merchants in the 16th century, created and developed what is now the infamous Mi Wang, a cultural celebration of central Vietnam.
This looks really similar to the Ban Pho we had in Hanoi, but there's quite a few differences. Here, this is made completely from rice. They actually take the rice, they soak it, they grind it, make their own batter, and then steam it. Whereas the Ban Pho in Hanoi would be made with a little bit of tapioca starch. So that means this is gonna be a much more fragile noodle. The only thing left to do is add all the other ingredients and eat.
The noodle sheets are chopped into noodle strands. Then they head to the bowl. Next, a protein trifecta. Shrimpies, quail eggs, and char siu pork. She adds a special broth made of beef bones, annatto oil, and spring onion roots, char siu sauce, spring onions, and peanuts. Here, you have Central Vietnam in a bowl.
This, my friend, will blow your freaking mind.
Okay, I'm up for that.
These shrimps have been caramelized, have a really nice fish sauce and sugared flavor to it.
All right. As you chew the shrimp, the sauce bursts out of it. It was very flavorful. I like that.
This fish sauce is mixed with chilies and garlic. It's really strong.
Could you have that back? It is very pungent.
Next, we have this homemade chili sauce. Let's mix it all up. Noodle, great texture. That broth really brings that flavor in.
It's just so chewy. It's very similar ingredients and somewhat similar cooking technique, but it feels, the textures are so different from a pho noodle. I've got some roasted pork here. Pork and seafood, they belong together, especially in a bowl like this. Let's try this broth. It's enough salt and enough flavor for the whole bowl. Yeah.
No matter what temperature it is outside, a bowl of Mi Wang is always perfect. Sometimes a bowl of pho, it's a little too hot.
It is over 100 degrees midday, but people can still manage these noodles because it's not just a big steaming hot bowl of broth. One more bite.
Mì Quảng này là ngon nhất trên thế giới. Không có mì Quảng nào mà ngon như cái mì Quảng này. Mì Quảng này là hết sức. Xuất sắc.
You know Russian?
It's German.
Saigon, or Ho Chi Minh City, is not the capital, but it's still Vietnam's biggest city. A city humming with energy, life,
this is perfect right here.
And food.
Unnecessary.
Few locals even eat breakfast at home.
People here go crazy for the noodles.
Because it's so tasty.
I know what that is. It's delicious.
Easy.
They make a simple bowl of noodles look like a symphony.
And affordable to chow down on the streets.
You can smell.
Calvin and I are on a mission
Mà biết mà không nhiều được nhé, không nhiều được.
to show you the best this city has to offer.
Each bite is like its own experience.
And it absolutely starts here. Many times in this city, a completely average-looking restaurant exterior paired with a Microsoft Paint level of graphic design and a name as uninspiring as Pho Vietnam are all the cues you need to know there's magic happening inside.
Good morning and welcome to Saigon. I came here for the perfect breakfast. This is like the quintessential breakfast of Vietnam. I'm talking about pho.
Rice noodles, your choice of protein, fresh herbs, and a complex, deep, almost philosophical broth. This dish transforms whatever mood you brought with you into overwhelming comfort. Traditionally, you'll find pho with all its ingredients sunk in a savory broth. Here, it's a completely different story.
They're doing kind of a deconstructed pho experience. They've really elevated this dish to a new level.
Upgrade 1, the protein. Beef shank, beef flank, beef brisket, beef ribs. Did I mention yet that this dish costs under $10? Oh, and there's still more beef. Oxtail, a coveted delicacy that you'd never see paired with this dish. Upgrade 2, the noodles. This restaurant's been open for 5 years, and up until now, they're the only pho restaurant in Saigon dishing out their own fresh, handmade bun pho. Steam rice flour batter for a couple minutes, and you get these thick, soft, chewy noodles, ready for action. Finally, this dish's most crucial element.
A steaming sauna of delicious aromatic flavors. I smell cumin, star anise, cloves, plus all the bones that were cooking in there overnight. All the flavors blended together. It smells good. Soon this broth is gonna be in a stone pot, bubbling, boiling away, and that's gonna come to our table.
Put a stone bowl over a raging flame until it's seriously hot. Then add oxtail, ribs, flank, brisket, and spring onion. Next, the glorious broth. Blanch the noodles and put them on the side together with thin beef shank slices and herbs.
Sonny, be careful here. If he drops it,
Yeah, then I can't have children. Take a look at this. It is insanely hot. I think we should start with a little taste of this broth.
it's almost like a consomme.
Oh, so hot. It is oily, aromatic, savory. If you could try one cut inside of here.
Oh, for me, it'd be the oxtail. Oh, it's really about that gelatinous texture. Just look at how jiggly it is.
It's highly desired.
You cannot have a good bowl of pho without a nice, fatty, soft brisket.
Oh my gosh, dude. Super soft meat. That meat is a little bit more on the drier side compared to that tail, but it's cut so thin that it's still delicate in your mouth.
And then the beef shank.
What makes beef shank special?
Beef shank or any shanks on animals are usually the most toughest part, but if you handle it with care and with technique and a quick swoosh in the broth, you're gonna get something that's super flavorful and super exciting to eat.
There's so many combinations here.
So we'll put some shank meat in first, we'll put some noodles in, add some green onions, and by the time your green onions hit the broth, they should be perfectly ready to eat.
This is pho at its best. I want to come here every day now. I want to open this restaurant in my living room. I want to invite all the staff. I want to put that kitchen in my kitchen.
This experience truly signifies how amazing Vietnamese food is and can be.
We have peaked early, my friend, but we have 3 more noodles we still have to try to manage to eat today somehow.
Most countries have their own version or interpretation of other countries' cuisine.
Cuba has a lot of Spanish tradition. That's why we inherit the churros in our culture.
It's no different when it comes to Vietnam, recreating their idea of the perfect Thai noodle dish called simply bun Thai.
Customers from all over the world come to Vietnam and try her bun Thai. They go elsewhere, but they always come back here because it's always that good.
Bun Thai is a flavor-packed, soupy surf and turf that rings up at only about $3 per bowl.
Oh, this is 60 pounds of bun. It's a white vermicelli noodle made from rice, but the Thai part, what is bun Thai, ma'am?
Mình làm ra nó cũng giống như của Thái Lan.
The broth is influenced by Thai. It has a sweet and sour flavor known in Thailand.
Calvin's referring to Tom Yum, a Thai noodle soup famous for its pleasurably spicy and sour broth.
It is so satisfying.
Of course, in Vietnam,
We took that recipe and we just did it on the sour and the spicy level. The ingredients you'll find here are very local to the Vietnam area.
You have so many different ingredients in here, tons of fresh seafood, and then you have this. What is this?
Fried fish cake is made with freshwater fish. The fillets are then blended with spices and then made into a patty.
Unnecessary.
I love doing that.
A little spongy, but great fish flavor, beautiful spices inside.
It's really good.
first blanch the noodles, thin, soft rice vermicelli. Next, an onslaught of protein. Beef, fish cake, fish, shrimp, squid, another shrimp, and clams. Flood the bowl with a sweet and sour fish bone broth. Garnish and serve.
Super fragrant, light, sugary, a little bit sour.
And then that really earthiness comes from the galongo root, which is a Thai root.
It kind of makes your throat feel good.
It's like a lozenge.
Yeah, it's like a delicious cough drop.
Thai flavor.
We've got some of this beef.
That's fish sauce with sliced chilies. I'll do the fermented chili sauce over here.
Very nice. Little shrimpy.
Oh, dip in the broth?
I'm just gonna hit it in the broth. How do you eat the shrimp?
With my mouth.
Ah.
Sweet, meaty. Vietnam has some of the best seafood in all of Southeast Asia.
Absolutely. This is what these noodles are all about right here.
It's a local fresh fish caught here in Vietnam.
You can taste the mekong on the fish. This is delicious. This sweet sour broth is perfect for seafood. There's no truer fusion than this. It's like the abstract idea of Thailand put into a broth mixed with tons of seafood and meat and sold for just a few bucks. Delicious.
When it comes to noodles, what's better, handmade or machine-made? Our next chef seems to think the machines can conquer any nimble-fingered noodle handler.
In the comment section, you're gonna see
Civil War.
I've come to Chinatown to find out.
Egg noodles.
This noodle, one of my absolute favorites, dates back thousands of years. Though widely known to be a Chinese creation, Italians and Arabs will tell you a very different origin story. I can't say for sure, so let's see what the chef thinks.
There you go.
Well, there you go. As much as folks in Vietnam love noodles, egg noodles don't appear often.
We see that so many noodles here have a rice base. What is it that makes this noodle so different?
These noodles only have 2 ingredients. They have flour and they have eggs.
What, like chicken eggs?
Chicken eggs.
It's not chicken eggs. I was leading you. Like chicken eggs?
No, duck eggs.
Tucked away in a nearby alleyway, you'll find Mr. Han's Fresh Egg Noodle Laboratory. His process for manufacturing machine-made noodles starts with wheat flour, duck eggs, and lye water.
Why duck eggs and not chicken eggs?
There's something in the duck egg that makes these noodles extra
Elastic?
extra elastic.
After 15 minutes of mixing, the dough is ready. With this machine, they press the dough into sheets. This process is repeated several times until they reach the desired thickness and texture consistency.
The moment has come. They are squeezing the dough right now between 2 cylinders and it's about to go into the noodle press. Oh, yes! It is like raining noodles. Can I put my finger in here? Sorry, I don't know. Sometimes I listen to the invasive thoughts. I shouldn't.
Here in Saigon's Chinatown, you'll find a large Chinese-Vietnamese population dishing out generations-old traditional recipes.
And all it serves to do is create even more variety of food that you can experience when you're in this city.
When it comes to noodles, traditional means handmade. So how do machine-made noodles stack up?
Is there a difference between machine-made noodles and hand-pulled noodles?
Bằng tay á. Cái nó không có bằng cái này.
Alright, let's go.
Chắc chắn.
Hand-pulled noodles could never be as good as machine-made noodles.
That is the claim of the century. Holy cow. Can the machine also put love into the noodles?
Bỏ hết tâm vô á là phải làm bằng tay. Làm bằng tay dồi nhưng mà rất là mệt. Cực mệt lắm. Mệt.
After pressing, boil for a couple of minutes, and they're ready for their sidekick, the wontons. Back in the noodle lab, flat dough sheets are cut down to size and filled with minced pork, shrimp, crab, and fish. Give them a little bit of a dip and pair them with the noodles. Add bok choy, black pepper, a mixture of soy sauce and oyster sauce, white pepper, green onions, fried pork fat, and finally, a savory pork bone broth.
If that tasted that good and that's a vegetable, just wait until we eat the noodles. I'm very curious about this broth, and so that's why I want to taste it.
Well, I got a great idea. Let's taste it.
That logic follows, right? It's a bit sweet, fatty.
Very rich.
It is simple and straightforward, but it's still awesome. Not every broth to me has to be like a complex labyrinth of flavor. Sometimes it can be like, oh, I know what that is. It's delicious. Look how big that is. This wonton is reckless. It's out of control. It's morbidly obese.
Hey,
not you.
You're body shaming me.
Not yet.
It almost slips down your throat like a slide.
It's like eating a little shumai. The density of the meat, not the same, but similar flavors and a similar texture to me. Right here, not a noodle at all.
They cook these pork bones overnight to achieve peach-like softness.
The tendons become moist and delicious.
And you just peel it off, and whatever you get is what you get, and people love it, right?
You know what? It's luck of the draw. Life is like a bone of chocolate. Life is...
Add broth, then top it with green onions and pepper to complete this epic side dish.
I'm gonna gnaw on it. I love gnawing on bones. Don't give me a joke right now. This is not the appropriate time.
There is nothing funny about that. Fatty and delicious. I flippin' love that.
The meat closest to the bone always has the most flavor.
This is the noodle right here. Super controversial. You were asking him what is better between a hand-pulled noodle and a machine-made noodle, and it seemed like he didn't even have to think about it. He knew instantly that this is the superior noodle. Let's go for it.
Oh. This bowl is perfect for a rainy day in Saigon.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have like a different noodle that you eat depending on weather patterns? What do you eat when it's foggy?
Flat noodle.
What about when it's sprinkling?
Vermicelli.
What about when it's raining?
Mi wang.
Oh. I've had hand-pulled noodles, I've had machine-made noodles. I cannot pretend to be expert enough to tell you which is better. The obvious go-to is like, oh, handmade is better. It's made with a human's touch. But, you know, there's advantages to machine-made too. It's more efficient.
I like that every noodle is conformed.
You like conformity.
Put me in a box.
Yes, comfort. Guys, who wants to stand out? For me, it's blend in or nothing at all.
Our next noodly dish is only known to true Vietnamese food lovers.
The star of this dish is actually right here. This is called bo ho.
This bo ho was made with a generations-old recipe. What you taste today is the same as what you would experience decades ago. Bo ho begins with a broth made of beef bones, lemongrass, ginger, 5-spice, and a natto spice. Next, add big chunks of beef brisket and tendon and let them stew slowly for hours, dissolving every last flavor crystal into its viscous broth.
It looks so awesome. Delicious stewed beef inspired by French cooking, made with love and time. Oh, and there's carrots too.
To pair with bo ho, our noodle. This is hut tiêu, a soft, thick rice-based noodle. After blanching the noodles with bean sprouts, fill the bowl with this thick, savory beef stew.
Imagine Dit Timor stew times 10.
Would you call it a broth? Would you call it a stew, a sauce?
I do call it a stew because there's meat in it. I don't really call it a broth because there's no bones that are being used to make this dish.
Oh, it's surprisingly light.
The Thai basil really helps cut a lot of that richness. Really nice aromatic flavors.
Vegan hot dog, here we go. It reminds me of my mom putting some carrots in a crock pot. This looks incredible. Huge pieces of beef. They kept all those parts on there that ordinarily would not be great unless you braise it for hours. Super tender, juicy.
I like how they didn't
it's so good.
I like how they didn't use very expensive cuts. Those cheaper cuts tend to have more flavor.
Underneath everything, we have the noodle.
Sonny, check out this beautiful sheen of this rich beef oil. That stew just coats every strand of noodle here.
The noodles are super, super soft. It is kind of fun to slurp up.
When you put the soft noodles with that little kind of chewy, grizzly meat, it's a nice combination.
Oh, take a look at this. This is what I'm talking about. This is just straight up tendon. This is the Achilles heel of this cow. That might be my top bite of the day right there. So rich, gelatinous, gooey. I'm gonna hit that with some noodles. This stands in contrast to everything else we've had today. It just has a completely different personality. It doesn't care if you like it. It feels like it's very confident in itself. It's a little bit arrogant. It has like a little body odor, but you're like, maybe that's what a man's supposed to smell like. It's a very nice day today. This is an incredible noodle selection that we've experienced.
Today, we complete our noodle journey in Vietnam's Mekong Delta.
Ahoy! Is that what you're supposed to say? Are they pirates?
The Mekong is different from anywhere else in this country.
Who's selling a double-decker cheeseburger right now?
A vast network of rivers and streams.
You should ask her what her website is.
On Facebook,
She didn't say what's Facebook?
Where locals have learned not to fight against Mother Nature, but to work with her. New geography means new ingredients.
Fish literally from a foot away from us.
Yes.
And noodles like you've never seen before. It all starts here.
Calvin, we have just arrived here in one of the most unique markets you'll find anywhere in any country. I love this place.
Welcome to Long Xuyen. Out here on the Mekong, rivers have turned into highways, and spots like this have become produce markets on the water. Through its 2,700-mile journey, the Mekong's nutrient-rich waters bless all those it passes by, meaning farmers here are able to generate a huge portion of this country's agriculture.
You see they have these banisters here at the top of it. Whatever vegetable or fruit they specialize in, a pineapple, they'll put it up there.
Who's selling a double bacon cheeseburger right now?
Oh my God, I wish one of them did have a bacon cheeseburger on top.
Wherever you find large collections of people, you'll find someone who wants to make a business by feeding them, even if it's on the water.
We're coming up on another boat now. I do see coconuts. How do you say coconut? You?
Hai trái dừa.
I think you should just do the ordering.
Chị ơi, 2 trái dừa. Wow, look at her just chop that. There's nothing that knife cannot cut. Oh my God, that sweetness is amazing. Gatorade has nothing on this. Refreshing, electrolyte, all natural, no GMO.
I mean, you're quite the marketer for this woman. You should ask her what her website is.
Chị có trang web không? Có Facebook không? Facebook là gì? Tiếp nè rồi.
Depending on the day, you can spot vendors selling Vietnamese coffee or a variety of noodles.
Oh, I see it, dude. There's a steaming pot of broth on her boat.
Conveniently delivered right to your starboard side.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
For just $1 or $2.
Hi, xin chào. Calvin, please translate.
Con chào bác.
This is Miss Duet. She's been gliding up and down this river, blessing locals with her flavorful offerings for over 20 years. This is an iconic Mekong noodle dish. Bun cat, rice vermicelli, local fish, and plenty of extras piled on top. During breakfast and lunch, she makes her way from vessel to vessel, docks briefly, and whips up a bowl. When the meal is finished, the bowl is returned, and she continues on her way. But let's back up. This noodle operation simply isn't possible without waking up at ungodly hours of the morning. Miss Duet prepares her food for the day inside her home. Grilled pork, fried fish, a rich savory fish bone broth, vermicelli noodles, and a load of fragrant veggies. Each food is collected and walked down the dock, where she carefully descends to her boat, with her valuable ingredients consuming nearly all the space on board. She gently pushes off and paddles her way into the sunrise, where she'll eventually meet me.
Fantastic. Can we have 2, please?
Hai tô.
Our bowl starts with shredded morning glory, bean sprouts, Egyptian river hemp flowers, and vermicelli rice noodles. She sinks it in her steaming hot broth, but just for a moment.
Oh, the broth doesn't stay? When do we get broth?
Chunks of fish, pork, string beans, and veggies join in. Then she douses the bowl in broth, this time for real. The finishing touch, Vietnamese coriander, pork fat, fish sauce, shrimp salt, and chilies.
This bowl is absolutely scorching, sizzling. Oh.
There's a lime on here. Give that a little bit of a squeeze.
Squeeze away.
That broth looks so rich when she poured it out. Oh, it's so spicy. I taste turmeric, I taste spice, it's very savory.
It's sweet, the fish sauce is very light. These are very simple ingredients, and she made something really beautiful out of it.
And fish.
Fish literally from a foot away from us.
I like the turmeric on that fish.
The more and more I dig into this noodles, the more and more flavor comes out.
This to me looks like kind of an odang that you'd find in Korea.
And then just get that broth into your nostrils. Whoops.
The fish cake is good. Every bite's a little different. For 85 cents, this is so filling.
You wouldn't think that you would get this quality on a river. You could sell this in a restaurant in LA or New York. Quá ngon nha, không còn một miếng nữa. Hết hết nước, không còn cái gì nữa. I'm asking what she's doing later.
Next, we're headed to a countryside noodle factory that's cranking out a ton of noodles called,
Hủ tiếu?
Hủ tiếu. Hủ tiếu.
This is Kim Ung Factory and its CEO, Kong. Here they're making some of this country's most beloved noodles from scratch.
What are the raw ingredients that go into the noodle itself?
Nguyên liệu của chiếu là gạo.
It starts with an enormous amount of ground rice, mixed with water to form a silky white rice batter.
One ingredient? Just rice?
Đúng.
A little bit of tapioca?
Hey, đừng nói ai nha. Chút bột lọc. Có đó không?
Có bột lọc. Cũng là từ gạo nha.
Holy
A conveyor belt guides the batter through a steamer, transforming it into thick, soft, elastic sheets. After resting for a moment on the rack, The rice sheets are sliced into squares.
She's cutting the noodle down to a foot. That's so that she can put that into the machine later on and then make noodles out of it.
At this stage, these noodle sheets are nearly identical to Vietnam's famous bánh phở. What separates them is the next step. They're sent outside and set on racks to dry.
It's about 2 or 3 hours in total, depending on the humidity of the air, depending on how hot it is. Once it's dry enough, then they pull it in.
It does have a really nice mouthfeel.
It feels a little more stickier than bánh phở does.
It is a little bit more chewy than a pho noodle.
Well, the drying in the sun definitely removes the moisture. That's all I got.
Fair.
Once the noodles are not all but mostly dry, they head to the same place as Hillary Clinton's emails.
You had to be really careful around here. This is my favorite part because you get to see some real action take place. Earlier on, the noodle is delicate, it has to be dried out, but now it's dry enough to be put through here. This is hutio, just a completely different texture than other noodles. No flavor. It is not dried all the way out. It's still a little bit of moisture in there. What do I do with this? So I give it back? I'll give it to my camera guy.
With the noodles now complete, they head out to nearby vendors who know exactly what to do with them. First, blanch the noodles. Then add fried pork fat and garlic, sugar, and a secret meat sauce. Mix it up, then toss on a prolific pile of proteins. Pork liver, pork heart, and more pork. Then pork intestines and shrimp. Douse the bowl in more secret meat sauce and garnish with herbs. This is a dry noodle, so we're still in need of a bone broth sidecar with quail egg.
Dude, I love intestines. I love chewiness.
It threw me off because it is a room temperature intestine. What? Creamy inside? She braised it for a long time. That noodle is what I'm really interested in. What sauce is on here?
It's her house sauce. She won't tell me exactly what's in there, but it's made out of soy sauce, chili sauce, and a few other spices, especially MSG.
Yeah, my favorite spice.
There's something about having fresh, whole noodles. They're more chewier.
I like it a lot. I would say this is like the ketchup noodles of Vietnam.
Ooh, I like that.
Is that insulting?
No, not at all. This is a bone broth made of pork and also dried squid.
Oh,
you got daikon.
I didn't get a dry squid. How come you got a dry squid?
Super complex, different levels of umami.
It's like jumping in a pool on a hot summer's day. It just cleanses you from the inside. It's so refreshing.
It does. Oh, look at that.
The perfect bite. What a combo. It's so satisfying.
The Mekong area is a very agricultural area. Everything on this dish came locally sourced.
The circle of life here.
Hakuna Matata.
From north to south, we've intimately experienced 17 of this country's iconic noodles. Now, our final dish is in a category all its own. Half noodle, half dessert. A perplexing combination of sweet coconut cream and savory fish sauce. They're called silkworm noodles, and here's how they're made. Rice flour batter is cooked until it condenses into a thick glob of dough. The dough is kneaded to create a consistent texture. With some honey and oil, this doughy deity brings the noodles into existence by rolling out small portions into strands that resemble silkworms. Or so they say. Steam for 20 minutes and they're ready for what's next.
My favorite part is that these are the most homemade noodles of any noodles we've seen from north to south. As I pick it off here, it's a little stretchy, a little elasticy, super hot, silky, and soft, huh? Oh, wow. It's a little bit salty, but very, very, very soft. So I imagine once they mix this with some sauce, it's probably gonna make it even softer. But people here in the Mekong Delta, they love it.
The noodles are combined with bean sprouts, pork balls, pork meat, and pork skin. Then a generous dose of thick white coconut cream, a potent spoonful of chilies, and finally, the fish sauce. I love savory foods and I love sweet foods, but mixing the two, I'm about to find out.
It's like I'm late night, I'm feeling creative, I maybe have some herbal influences going on, and I want to put everything together and pretend I'm Chef Gordon Ramsay. That's what this is. What's in here?
Ground pork, some spices, black pepper, fish sauce.
That's delicious. A little crumbly. It doesn't have that weird texture where you're like, that's not how meat should feel. A lot of pepper. I like it. And then there's literally everything else. Everything else just combines into this one thick mass. is so confusing. I tasted spice. I didn't even see herbs, but I tasted the herbs. And then a little bit of sweetness. Definitely a ton of super soft texture from these noodles. That is a fascinating combination.
Fascinating indeed. I tasted everything you have tasted, but I have to say, it's not for me. It's the fish sauce and the coconut cream going together that is throwing off my palate a little bit.
We've said how we feel about it, but what do you think it is that people around this region love so much about this food?
Oh. Here in the Mekong, coconut is one of the top exporting items. They try to use everything that's localized, and this is very regional. If you grew up here, there is a 99.999% chance you'll be eating this growing up.
From the rice to the pork to the coconut, all of that just screams Mekong Delta. All right, guys, check it out. I did not pee my pants. This is just sweat. It is hot out here.
But Sonny, I don't have anything in my pants. They're dry.
Guys, that is it for our noodle tour that you've been watching over a series of days, weeks, or even years. I hope you enjoyed our noodle tour all the way from the north in Hanoi to the south here in the Mekong Delta. It has been quite an experience, and my gosh, Calvin, we did it. So many noodles. In fact, we had
23 noodle dishes, one country. We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
A huge thank you to Calvin right here. You can follow Calvin at FKN Deliciousness on YouTube. He's also on Instagram. Follow his fun food adventures to see what he's up to. He's very charismatic off camera, I swear to God. That is it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Peace. All right.
I have a lot of floral shirts. Should I start wearing floral underwear?
No. Oh, yeah. Wear more floral stuff.
Oh,
we need more
sure.
flowers in this world.
Oh, we do, don't we?
There's never enough flowers.